Hello, friends. Welcome once again to SJW, Social Justice Weirdos, the podcast that looks at important issues through kind of a sideways lens. I'm Charlie McCorn. I use they, them, their pronouns.
And I am Lenny Peppers, she, her, hers.
Lenny, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm putting on an Indigenous film festival this week, and we are doing horror films, or at least films with horror themes in them.
Ooh.
Blood Quantum and...
that movie's great.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Blood Quantum.
Angelique's Isle, which is not a horror film, but it has horror elements that are very, like The Shining-esque.
Oh, I see.
So I'm going a little insane this week putting that on.
Well, you're doing a great job, and thank you so much for sharing the world of horror, and especially diverse horror, which I think the world needs more of.
Yes, absolutely. So jumping right in, today I am super excited to talk a little bit about Native American spirits and spirit guides in American seances in the 1800s.
Oh, this is okay. So speaking of diverse horror, I think we're there. I know nothing. I mean, I know a general amount about seances. That's really about it. So I am very excited to get into this topic today.
Okay, so how about before I jump in, you talk a little bit about seances and what you know about them.
Well, I think largely the idea of people having the ability to speak to spirits dates back throughout sort of the length and breadth of human history. Obviously, we have great words like necromancer, which today is kind of a loaded word, but it really just means someone that could talk to the dead, someone that could like get information from the dead. I mostly know seances, and I don't want to come off as like being too short with some of these things, but it's mostly scams to bilk people out of money. Like, largely, the history of seances, I think, has largely been an exploitative industry. Not saying that it doesn't maybe help some actual people. Boy, I'm dancing around this. I don't know where I fall on this particular subject. I'm trying to just be that perfect centralist, you know? Like, you know what? Both sides have it okay. And I know some of the tricks. Like, I used to be, I used to work as a magician. And so some of the tricks that I learned and some of the illusions, some of the things were sort of developed by mediums and seances. Hey, did you hear about the very short psychic that broke out of prison?
No.
They were a small medium at large.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
I heard that. I heard that from someone else. I'm sorry I'm not crediting whoever it was, but that was a good joke, whoever it was.
Oh yeah, totally.
So that's sort of the larger points that I guess that I know. I like when I picture a seance, I'm picturing like Arthur Conan Doyle like foiling some like some sort of ruse or rapscallion in like gaslit London. Like I'm kind of picturing that, and maybe a little bit of what's kind of like come through like osmosis through like horror films and things. Last year, you and I were in the abandoned old Montana prison in Deer Lodge. It wasn't really a seance, but we had a spirit board and a ghost detector, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, totally. And when we were telling jokes, that thing was lighting up.
Yeah, that's exciting. I should probably edit that. We should probably get that edited at some point.
Oh yeah, totally. I want to see that. That is awesome. It was like probably one of the most fun things in my entire life.
Same.
One time, about a year ago, I went to Buffalo, New York, and I ran into Wes Studi at the airport.
Oh, wow.
And we went out and hung out outside, and we were smoking cigarettes. And I told him all about the whole, like, jokes for ghosts thing, and he was all about it. They did something similar where his band played for, like...
Oh, wow.
Something. And so he thought that was really cool and hilarious. And...
Awesome. All right, so what do you got for seances with us, and how do they intersect with the history of indigenous peoples?
And social justice.
And social justice.
So in the mid-19th century, seances were especially popular, and people would just get together after dinner and just have like a little after dinner seance.
Oh, so things haven't changed all that much since this time period. Like, I'm still just like finishing up my Impossible Whopper, and they're like, you know what I want to do? Talk to a ghost.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and Whoppers make me want to talk to ghosts anyway, especially the impossible ones.
Yeah, thanks to Whoppers, I will probably be talking to ghosts sooner rather than later.
Or yeah, humans will be talking to you. I don't know. So 1700s, but the majority of the people that were speaking to natives specifically were like kind of rich or upper class, kind of like white women who would get together and they would start speaking to they would use Native Americans as like their spirit guide, their guide into the spirit world.
They didn't have, I'm sorry, as a white woman, we don't have our own ghosts? Like, we couldn't have pulled our own ghost to do that?
Well, there at the time there was like a dialogue going on where we were like just 100 years earlier we had become America, and there was like this dialogue of like that you can see in like presidential speeches and in other like historical speeches where the Native Americans are being mentioned as like this dying race,
Oh, geez.
disappearing people. And we became a part of the Native American like historical story, like, oh, that was terrible and we feel so bad about this,
But manifest destiny, what can you do?
yeah, and let's make the best of this land that we have been given. That's what the speeches say. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh my god, we were such a piece of shit. Oh, hey, so this dying race, no idea of like, we're the ones that did it, but, we have the land now, and now we're going to take their ghosts and put them to work.
And like right before this happened, we had like the Trail of Tears. The removal policies had like just like kind of started wrapping up like that era. And so they were like, oh my gosh, this is infuriating. Look what's happening to these people. And so what started happening was suddenly when they would do these seances, Native American spirits would pop up. And the interesting thing about them is like these spirits were extremely political.
Really? Like, the ghost popped up and was like, I'll take you to the spirit land, but oh my god, you're on stolen land right now.
No, they would be like, I'm going to take you to the spirit realm, but like look at what's happening to my people, basically.
Oh, wow.
And so these women decided to like start like getting together and like trying to make changes for like the natives that were left. We want all of these natives to like that are left behind who have not yet vanished to exist in our world with us. And in order to do that, they have to assimilate. And so let's advocate for all of the Native children to go to schools
Oh my
and start
goodness.
assimilation policies and stuff like that. And so these women started like pushing for, as like friends of the Indians, pushing for like Native reform and religious reform to like help push us into an assimilated world where everybody could live together peacefully.
How fucking terrible. I mean, okay, one. I have several thoughts. How terrible to be in one of these terrible boarding schools where we know horrible, horrendous, terrible, torturous things happened to Native kids.
Yeah, my grandparents, or my let's see, great great grandparents went there. My grandpa was sent when he was 5, and by the time he was, I believe, 8, he had run away 5 times. We're located in Montana.
Oh, wow.
They sent him to Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania. And
Oh my goodness.
so he had tried to run from Pennsylvania to back to Montana 5 different times and was labeled as a bad.
I can't believe Like that first day, like sitting in class, it's like, all right, hey kids, no one's happy about this, but Ghost told my great aunt that that's why we need to be here. So let's listen to the ghosts. That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Like at first I was like, oh, the ghosts were like, ooh, we need to help the indigenous. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, let's do it. Like, no, let's assimilate them. Oh my god.
Well, the other reason why was because like there was some like really, really racist like stereotypes with by the time the 19th century came around.
Yeah, like the stereotype that white women listen to ghosts after dinner.
They like really wanted to justify like this idea, like this ideological real Indian in their own minds, and so these spirit guides really often tended to like follow the stereotypes of the time, so that way they could show that this is the way natives are. And I know because I have a dead native friend.
It's okay for me to be racist. One of my closest dead friends is native. Is it kind of that thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez Louise. Oh my god.
And a lot of these like spirit guides actually took like the forms of like famous chiefs, and then also some of the actual spirit guides themselves became famous because of it. And so there have been like books written with like sections about like specific native chiefs and stuff throughout history. And so yeah,
that is I'm sorry, my jaw is on the ground. So who are some of these famous ghosts?
There's like Little Plum. He's like the typical native like stereotype. He dressed in buckskin, and a lot of these natives were like Plains Indians. Like they looked like Plains Indians. But in addition to that, some of them spoke, like Little Plum, he spoke mock pigeon.
That was my question. Like, they were not like speaking English. Like they didn't have to have someone translate from the languages of the Indians of the East.
No, they spoke English. Like he spoke like pigeon speak, like me come to tell you.
Oh my god.
And then some of them are also like very like Longfellow-esque. Like they were straight from like the Song of Hiawatha. Like they were all poetic, and and so it really depended on what the spiritualist's idea of a native was at that time. And there was even one who would like show up, and he was like this big muscular like native dude, and he would allow, and I'm not quite sure how this worked, but he would allow all of these like early to middle-aged like white women to feel his muscles, and like really it was kind of slightly sexual, like his appearance to these women.
Yeah, you know what? As soon as you said that he was full of muscles, I suddenly understood why this was so popular with white women after dinner.
Yeah.
Like they're... It's like, you know what, I wish I had enough girlfriends that we could all like, all right, hey, it's after dinner, let's sit in a circle and imagine touching a muscular minority. Like, I get it now. I see why they were doing it now.
Yeah.
No, sweetie, it's just a seance. No, we're just imagining a ghost. No, we're just talking to a spirit. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. One of the women actually asked, like, why do so many like natives appear to, us in the spirit realm? And like one of the native spirits said that because natives are more in touch with the earth and can like, that they're able to like walk back between the two planes more easily than other spirits.
Oh my goodness. Well, tell me, spirit, how did you get so muscly? Like, how many push-ups can you do? Tell me that, spirit.
Which is really weird because like my parents are like ranchers and native, and like historically, like being kind of lanky and lean, not really super muscly, So I'm not sure where like this big muscly Indian like trope came from. Like,
Definitely from these white women sitting around with an old-timey spirit board.
yeah.
Listen, we don't have Pornhub. We certainly don't have Tumblr. So I guess we're going to make do with our after our dinner parties. We're always sit around pretending to speak to a super yoked Indian.
Yeah. uh Other chiefs like Tecumseh, Osceola, like would come in and talk to them, and they talk to them about nature, and they talk to them about other stuff. But it kind of like signified like a radical dissension from the government policy of the day. Like they saw Wounded Knee had happened, and they saw that the Battle of Little Bighorn had happened, and they saw the removal of like over like the course of like many years. And so they were seeing all of these terrible things happening, and they were like, this is not okay, this is wrong. And so like to put it in context of like today's time, it would be like spiritualists seeing immigrant people and being like, they want this, like their spirits say so.
I saw a ghost last night of an incredibly just jacked immigrant just coming over and just in his just strong arms he pointed down at me and said, "You must make the world a better place."
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Oh my god.
So basically, wealthy do-gooders thinking that they were doing good, but really doing much more bad things.
Sure. Yeah, I'm still just agog at all of this.
Yeah. So that's all I have on this specific topic for now. I would love to revisit it in the future. I'm actually covering this for some other stuff that I'm writing, and so I know that I'm going to come across like way more research on it and be able to talk a little bit more in depth on it in the future.
I am just kind of blown away. So aside from like the forced assimilation of native peoples, like did these ghosts have any other ulterior motive? Was it like, your mother loves you, she's here and I can see her? That's the medium speaking. I wasn't doing a voice there. That's the medium speaking.
So they would like help like guide them to other like spirits through the spirit realm. And so yeah, they would definitely like were also just kind of in the background of this other stuff that was happening.
I'm sorry to keep saying it, but this is just shocking to me. This is...
The thing is like, this isn't even like before I even knew that this was a thing, I love to talk to like just people who are at like events. So I would go talk to like white people at powwows and be like, how's it going? How are you guys liking it? What brought you here? And like the amount of people who said things to me like, I dreamed that a Cheyenne Indian appeared at the foot of my bed and told me that I needed to come here, and like to have like these spirit guidey things like happen to them. I was always like, why is it always a Cheyenne Indian? Why is it always like appearing to them in a dream? And why do they always follow through on this? Like, why is it so powerful to them that they actually follow through and come to the reservation to go to powwows and stuff like that?
It's white people. Like, why is it always white people? Like, I would feel that if there was any kind of spiritual guide leading for a sense of inclusion and unity, let's just like let the white people do their thing. Like, not saying that we can't all come together to find common ground and figure shit out, but what are these ghosts doing?
Well, in addition to that, like I once had somebody contact me on the internet. They said the same thing, that a Native American, specifically Cheyenne spirit, had come to them in their dreams. And so now they like completely honor like Native American culture. And so they were like, my birthday's next week, I'm going to have a Native American themed birthday. And I was like, oh my God, no, don't do that. So the next week they send me pictures of them dressed as cavemen, not Native American. Yeah, and they were just like, look at us respecting your culture. And I was like, those are cavemen.
You know, why? That's a good point. Why don't we just start seeing like ghosts of like ancient people, like Cro-Magnon, like coming back, talking to us and whatever. I mean, whatever bullshit language the cave people spoke in.
Yeah.
And
all like people who aren't white speak in Pigeon Tongue or Pigeon speak.
Once people of color die, they lose their ability to communicate anything else except for.
Oh yeah. The fact that they were most likely bilingual or multilingual doesn't make any difference. They just suddenly can only speak in, yeah.
Now this is kind of tangentially related. Do you remember when you and I were out yard sailing like many years ago, and we overheard the people who were running the yard sale talking about their spirit animal party?
Yes. Oh, I was so mad, but at the same time, completely fascinated. And so I remember like standing there, and it was me, you, and Destiny.
Yes.
Our friend Destiny. And I remember like circling in and like looking at like the costumes that they were sitting there making, and they're all sitting in a circle, and they're like, what's your spirit animal? And I was like, I have a real spirit animal that was given to me when I got my Indian name. And they were like, oh, well, we're all getting our spirit animals tonight. And now I'm worried that maybe I gave them also the idea to get Indian names that night.
Yeah, a bunch of like mid-20s yoga pants wearers walking around like, no, this lady at the yard sale said that we should totally do this.
And they invited us. They're like, why don't you come along, dress as your spirit animal? And I was like, maybe. But then I didn't get Destiny to go with me that night.
I just want to say that I know that the history of oppression is a long and painful one, but I am glad that white women have reached a point where they're no longer talking, doing terrible things in the names of what indigenous ghosts told them, and are now just like, oh, a lady at a yard sale told me I should do this.
Yeah, I mean, ghosts. Maybe I'll just start appearing at people's beds at night and being like, "Hey, vote for."
I like that your ghost is very non-political. I like that real centrist ghost.
No, mine would be told that this isn't even a ghost. This is just me. I'm just going to like start breaking houses and appearing at their beds in full regalia in the middle of the night and being like, "Ooh, vote for blah blah blah."
Wow, fascinating topic today. Thank you so much for your research. Thanks so much for telling me about that. I am blown away and furtherly more embarrassed by my race and gender.
Well, you are welcome, and it was my pleasure. What are we talking about next week?
Next week is kind of a continuation of what we talked about last week. I mentioned briefly the stand-up comedian Ray Bourbon, and I think I'm going to do a deep dive into the history of this incredible weirdo from history.
I'm super stoked. I was hoping that you were going to do Ray Bourbon.
Yeah, here's one quick fact to tide us over. Ray Bourbon, in their life, had been arrested for both impersonating a woman and impersonating a man.
What?
We'll get to that next week.
Okay. I cannot wait. Okay. So this has been Social Justice Weirdos. I am Lenny Peppers.
I'm Charlie McCorn. And remember, change the world. If you can't do that, throw a brick.